A little over a year ago, Iron Studios released a new Sentinel line. That's right, 1/10 scale Sentinel statues with the X-Men attacking them. I was all in. I decided to order all of them. I ordered the first one from Iron Studios, and then they canceled my order. So I talked to them, they put it back in place, and they canceled it a third time. Then after that, I tried to put it back in again, and they were out of stock, which was kind of a relief to me, to be honest, because I wasn't sure if I wanted this line. I'm used to 1/4 scale pieces that have a lot more detail. Although I have had a lot of Iron Studios 1/10 scale pieces. In fact, there's going to be a Jurassic Park video from them later this week. But then I saw the review of the Sentinel 1 statue by Half Fast Reviews. And honestly, my suspicions were confirmed. It was just not enough detail for me. Now, I was able to cancel the second one, and the third one I had on order through Sideshow. I was hoping they would delay it, because then I could get all my money back. Unfortunately, they didn't delay it, and they didn't even tell me it was shipping. It just showed up here, and a $2,000 charge on my bank. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we're giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, thanks for tuning into the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X. We're all about high-end collectibles here. Today we have Iron Studios Sentinel number 3 1/10 scale diorama in front of me. That's right, this is from X-Men. So Marvel's X-Men is about mutants with special powers. If you didn't know that and you're watching this, you must be here for me. But this is the third and final statue in that line. I don't want to say final though, because they're making a whole bunch of proximity pieces. The first, as I talked about in the intro, is this piece right here. The second was kind of a half Sentinel, and it was meant for all three of these to be lined up next to each other. Now, as I said in the intro, one of the reasons I didn't get this is I have about 30 1/4 scale X-Men pieces. Those are the same size as the pieces behind me. And most of those are actually fighting a Sentinel. I didn't really need a $6,000 statue setup. Yet, here we are with 1/3 of it. We're going to do an extreme review. We're going to talk about concept, paint, sculpt. Some of the things are really, really good on this, and some are a complete miss. And honestly, with something so big, I don't know what I'm going to do with this.
That's what she said.
I almost feel like I can't have this guy by himself, but at least need to get number 1 to go next to him. You're going to see during the design, I don't want to ship him back for a lot of different reasons. So maybe as we go through this, I'll get a better idea and you can help me decide. So I haven't been moving it around too much because I'm a little worried. It does seem pretty stable, but still with so many different pieces, there's just a lot to cover here. So let's do that starting with the concept of this piece, which is what makes these dioramas amazing. So again, keep in mind the concept of this piece isn't fully complete. There's 2 other giant Sentinel statues, and then God knows how many. I know there's at least a dozen, if not 2 or 3 dozen proximity pieces of other characters you can put with this. I actually used to own the Professor X right here. And I bought that because I thought I'd put it with one of these statues. But here we have the base is an all rock base, where the other ones, they were actually breaking into the X mansion, Xavier's mansion. So you would assume that right here on this one, this is right outside of the mansion. The back half of the base is made completely of ice because Iceman has frozen the Sentinel's leg. You can't even see the foot. Not only is he frozen the leg, but he is actually moving up and shooting him again. The Sentinel's trying to move forward despite the destruction and the ice all around him. And the Sentinel's battle damaged and worn. You're going to see that the entire time. The next character you come up to is Kitty Pryde. Her power is she can actually go through objects. So you actually see her going through this Sentinel statue. I don't know how that's going to hurt him, but to each his own. Moving up further, you have some big battle damage action over here. You actually have Psylocke sliding down the side of the Sentinel. She has a sword in one hand, a katana, where she has sliced him in half. Then she has her psionic blade. So she makes stabbing weapons with her mind, kind of a telekinesis, if you will, on the other hand there. Right above that, you actually see his armpit exploding because there's a lightning bolt going through it. On one side of the top, you have Storm bringing down that lightning bolt. Pretty freaking cool. The other side, you have Archangel flying. At least with the appearance of flying. They did that with both Storm and Archangel, and I think it looks fantastic. The Sentinel's still trying to move forward. He's trying to defeat them. Sentinels are pretty tough beasts to bring down. If you're like me and you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you remember the X-Men 90s cartoon. Absolutely amazing. Sentinels were a huge part in that, so there's a lot of nostalgia in this for me. But I think even if there wasn't that nostalgia, this is just an amazing concept. I think it's a 5 out of 5 for sure. You get a huge diorama, multiple characters. It is so dynamic. Well done, Iron Studios. Design, honestly, I think they did a really good job as well. As I unboxed it, I was kind of questioning some things, but it all worked. Let's look at the unboxing and assembly. It did come in 2 different boxes. Pretty big size, the weight was negligible. And pretty neat art box on both of them, both the front and the back. You can see right here. Standard white foam and straps. They use tape as well. Iron Studios usually does the straps. Here's the first layer, or the only layer of the first box. You can see quite a few pieces in there. And then the second box had these pieces.
Previously on X-Men.
So what you see here is how it works. There's no additional display options, anything of that nature. Everything fits really well. The one exception, I had some trouble getting Psylocke in, as you saw, because she has, I just noticed her head wasn't the right way. So you're gonna see that later too when I do the close-ups. However, I had some trouble getting her in because she actually connects in 3 different places, so getting all those to line up is sometimes an issue. Also, getting the bottom legs into the base at the same time and keeping them together wasn't easy. So this would be easier with 2 people. But I'm at my office and they already think I'm a weirdo, so I don't want to come ask for help playing with my toys. Like I said, very little seam lines, everything works really well. Let's get the dimensions on him. All right, kind of hard to determine exactly what's the front. Is it here or here? But we're gonna say just the widest point on the base is over 25 inches. For exact dimensions, check out Sideshow, that's who I got this from, or Iron Studios website. Storm goes up, damn. She is almost 36 inches tall. And then about 18, 19 inches deep and or wide, depending on how you want to look at that. Now, as I assembled it, they did have an instruction book, which I've had some instruction books from Iron Studios before, like this Spider-Man right here that sucked. This book was pretty good, actually. They did a nice job on this. So really, I can't fault them for much with the design. It's a very complicated piece. They get a lot of points for ambition. I have to give them a 5 out of 5 on the design as well, because it's done really, really well. Now, as I said in the intro, typically the paint and sculpt is where they've been failing on these, and I think Iron Studios fails a lot on some of their pieces. I've had pieces before where I think the statue is amazing, but the base sucks, or vice versa. Here, there's a lot of opportunity on the paint and sculpt. Check it out. All right, so let's dive in and find out what I'm talking about. Starting with the base. You know, when I initially saw pictures of the first one or video, it looked more gravel-like. This does not look like gravel. It's a little bit too smooth in the protrusions that stick out. It almost looks calculated. And I don't think there's enough texture on it to really kind of insinuate some particles and dust flew out of it. I do like the texture on the stones here a little bit better. That almost looks like backyard paving stones. That looks okay. Here's an antenna or something of that nature that was destroyed. Just another piece right there. So it's okay. The base is really okay. The ice effect looks great. I like the transition too. So you have the clear resin right here, obviously. Looks really good, actually. And then on the bottom, it's more frosted over because you insinuate that's where the ice started, so it's colder. And then you see the bleed over to here, which you see the paint, white paint on the bottom. And then there's almost a purple hue in there. So I like how the color transitions depending on what he's freezing. So that was done really well. And then really quick, just looking at Iceman here. He looks good. I mean, it's hard to see a clear resin Iceman. I've owned a few in my time, all 1/4 scale. So you really can't get a great look at the portrait or anything. And different colors seem to pop, whether it's the reflection off the Sentinel or the lighting in the room. But he essentially is the same color as that ice. It just varies a little bit. The Sentinel, so let's go over him really quick. It's very toyish in the sculpt. There's no really clean differentiation, and part of that could be the paint on top, but you see right here where these hydraulics are moving around the gears and mechanisms in the knee. Not a huge fan of that, and there's something about the outside armor too. I like the rivets that are in it. They still do look a little mediocre, if you will. Doesn't look real, looks like it's from a cartoon. And this battle damage, so they have some black scoring, some dirt, some rust. I like the concept of it, and I think the rust looks good. But down here, it almost looks like a mix of rust and dirt. So when you're viewing it this close, you definitely see those flaws that, you know, I'm used to the 1/4 scale figures, but technically this is bigger than a 1/4 scale figure, so I would have wanted a little bit more detail in between his leg. It'd be nice to see some wires and things of that nature in there, but it just looks like the sculpt's not very clear. The print isn't. Then he has a vent on his chest. The gold helps break up that blue and off purple color. I do like the layering of it though. So almost this it's not armor, obviously, it's his body, but I do like the layering of it. And like on his hand too much rust in my opinion. Granted, Sentinels have been through the test of time and they've been around for a while, so I understand that, but it's kind of a turnoff to me in my opinion. Let's look at the back. Here's where Psylocke's blade is scoring him down. That's a cool effect. The explosion's a little corny. Looks like buttered popcorn. I think they should have added maybe some more orange in there to differentiate it from the lightning bolt that she's sending through. Like I said, cool concept, just up close, not as good. You have these vertebrae on the back where his spine is. And again, too much rust. It looks like they just went to town coloring all that in there. It'll be interesting to see other videos if it's just mine like that or all of them. So the Sentinel's okay. I also don't like how flat the paint is. While that's probably more accurate, it doesn't pop. It makes this piece quite a bit darker. Let's look at his portrait. He looks goofy. You know, this isn't the scary Sentinels. I don't like what they did with the teeth. I wish they would have had more like of a vented mouth like that. Looks like a mix between Curious George, and he just doesn't look scary to me. So I think that's a little bit of a miss. And all that scoring they did, the shading for the black and the rust colors, just make what's already a flat paint job look way, way too dark. So let's dive into the other figures here. Kitty Pryde. Start with her portrait here. It's not bad for a 1/10. As I said, I've had some Iron Studios, and I think they've done much better on some of their movie pieces. Her hair, I've seen much better on 1/10. I don't expect really much better. It's kind of a blob together, though. A few wrinkles in her uniform. Some dirt on her feet. And again, a lot of shading. They just keep doing that, which makes sense because they are in the middle of a battle. So Archangel, I like his wings. So you don't want to go too metallic, but you don't want to go too dull. I think they did a really good job. I wish they wouldn't have put some of that black shading in here. Again, I know he's in the middle of a battle, but to me, Archangel, the defining characteristic is those really, really shiny wings. So I wouldn't want it like chromed, but just the same color without the metallic, or without the shading, sorry. So here's the suit on Archangel. Bottoms of his feet, interesting how they went with that textured pattern. You also see some texture in between the seams of the suit here, that purple color. And there is some good detail on the musculature of him. Looks good. And Kitty Pryde, the physique was nice as well. Portrait's okay. Not my favorite Archangel portrait. So it's all right. Let's go over to Psylocke. I think her portrait's better than Kitty Pryde. They did a nice job with the anatomy. It's hard to focus on this. There's her psionic blade. Even the handle on the sword looks good. Some leather wraps on it. I like her sash flowing in the wind. She's probably my favorite of all the pieces here. And let's check out the last one, Storm. I still don't know if I have her head on right, but anatomy's okay. She's in a twisted position, so it's kind of hard to nail the anatomy. I don't even know if a human body could do that. I'm sure a contortionist could, but it really kind of makes her stick out her gut, which is not your typical slim fit Storm you're used to seeing. I do like her hair. Cape looks good. See, her cape's not as faded and dirty as a lot of the other parts of the statue with the gold trim on the side. I wish she would have had the X on her belt. That's kind of missing there. Yeah, just not a fan of her position. And her portrait, because she's looking down, it's really hard to get some light on this. Let me switch to light really quick. All right, there we go. So, whited out eyes, because she's controlling the lightning. Face is okay. Kind of boring. But that's it. So, like I said, this is where it really fails, is the paint and sculpt. Doesn't take away from the amazing concept. And keep in mind, I am comparing this to a lot of 1/4 scale pieces. And the larger your pieces are, the more detail they have. But keep in mind, the Sentinel is pretty damn big, and I still think they missed the mark on him. One thing I didn't talk about on the paint was it's pretty clean. So what I mean that is there's not a lot of bleed over where one color meets another. They did a nice job, especially for smaller figures. So for that reason alone, I was going to grade it a 2, but I have to give it a 3 out of 5. Again, I also like the resin effect, but it's a kind of a weak 3 out of 5, which is still okay. It's just not something amazing. Sculpt, that's a tough one for me because they are smaller figures. You know, I'm not digging the sculpt. I think the sculpt's a 2 out of 5. I think it could have definitely been better. I've seen them do better on 1/10 scale pieces. That's why I'm judging them so harsh. And when it's all said and done, you pay a lot of money for this statue. So let's talk about value. Now, as it comes right here, you can get it just like I did, and they made 1,250 of these, or you can get just the Sentinel. So for all that, like it is here, it's $1,800 plus tax and shipping. So you're $2,100 to $2,200 all in for this. That is a lot, especially for a big edition size, especially if you consider the fact that it's kind of weird just to have one. You almost want to buy another one with it. Then there's all those proximity pieces. I mean, if you got it all, you'd probably be close to $10,000 when it's all in. And with mediocre paint and sculpt, I have a problem with that. Also, the fact that this is going to be hard to reship. So I don't know if I want to keep this or not. As I said, if I do send it back, I have to pay for all the shipping and I lose my non-refundable deposit. And if I sold it to somebody else, I'm worried something would break with all those different pieces. So I think the value on this, while you do get 5 or 6 characters, I think it's too much money. I think it's a 2 out of 5 on the value for this piece, unfortunately. If you're charging $2,000 for part of a diorama, it better be pretty damn good. Now, does this have the X Factor? So the X Factor is a totally different score. It doesn't take into consideration anything we talked about. It's when you walk into the room and you see this, will you be drawn to it? Now, I would almost give this a 5 out of 5, although it really has that toy quality. It really looks more like a toy than a piece of art. So for those reasons, I think it's a 4 out of 5 overall. It's still impressive. I think they did a lot of amazing things, but it's just a little too toyish for my taste. So now is where I really need your help. What should I do with this? Should I take a loss? The loss will be like $300 to $500 and try and send him back. I have no idea where I display him. And if I kept him, do I need to get number 1? I'm okay missing number 2, but do I need to get number 1 as well? So throw that down in the comments because you could win a statue with that comment. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. But thanks for tuning in, guys, whether you're new or old. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that picture of me. Drop me a like on the way out. It really helps. And again, make sure to throw down a comment so you're entered into that contest. I'll talk to you guys really soon. Some really kick-ass videos coming this week. So until then, check out some of these other ones. Take care.